Hello, everyone, and welcome all of you to Unacademy, a platform that has helped thousands of students across the country to crack toughest of examinations with the help of top educators, quality content, and not to forget the great learning experience. Therefore, join us on Unacademy and together let us crack ninth and 10th examination CBSE exams with the access to unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. Well, before I continue speaking about Unacademy, let me introduce myself. I am Tasneem Ahmed and I have completed my master's and MPhil in English. I have also been certified in TESOL and I have also trained 1,000 plus students and I also have 8 years of professional teaching experience. Therefore, be rest assured you are in good hands. And today's topic is about tenses. Well, if you all remember, and if you have all watched my videos that I had recorded in last 2 weeks, then you would know that we have been discussing about tenses from almost 2 weeks. And I took you through each and every individual tense. And today I am going to be taking you through all these tenses at a glance, where you will take a look at it and you will try and memorize the formula that it entails. Before I proceed in teaching you the formula of tenses, let me tell you a little more about Unacademy and what you will get at Unacademy. Well, for starters, you have daily life classes where you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts, and answer polls, all while the class is going on. Number two, you have live tests and quizzes. Number three, you have structured courses. And number four, which is the most important one of all, is the unlimited access to live and recorded courses by getting the subscription. One subscription gives you the access to all free live classes, and you can also prepare with any educator that you prefer to learn from. And you can access any subject, any syllabus you want, be it mathematics, social science, Hindi, or science, or English, of course. You can also talk to us on Telegram application by downloading the app, typing the link, and then clicking on join. You also have to download the Unacademy learning application on one of your compatible devices. After having done this, comes the most important step of all, that is to buy one of the available subscriptions which are offered by Unacademy. Well, Unacademy offers you the subscription starting from 1 month till 48 months. Well, let me tell you, as you go higher with the duration of these courses, the discount on these courses go higher as well. Well, the course which is available for 6 months comes for 33% of discount, and the course which is available for 12 months is on a discounted rate of 50%, and the course for 24 months is on a discounted rate of 58%, and the course for 36 months is on a discounted rate of 60%, and the one for 48 months is on a discounted rate of 67%. Well, that's not all. This is not the only discount that you are entitled for. Well, along with this discount that has been offered by Unacademy, you have additional 10% of discount on the code TA01. When you proceed to pay, you will have to type the code TA01 exactly in this particular place. After having done that, you got to click on proceed to pay, and then along with the discount that has been offered by Unacademy, you get additional 10% of discount. That is, for example, let me tell you, if you were to buy the course of 12 months, which is already available on 50% of discount, well, along with the additional discount, you get 60% of discount in total. And as opposed to 15,000, you now will be paying only 13,500 only. That is for the entire 12 months. And if you were to personally ask me my opinion, which course you should actually go by, I would suggest go with a course that is available for 12 months and not for 6 months. Well, if you are a ninth grader, it is going to be beneficial if you are going to buy the course which is available for 48 months because you're sorted for next 4 years. You, of course, have to prepare for ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So if you're going to go buy this course, you are sorted for next 4 years of preparation on Unacademy. And if you are a 10th grader, then you can probably go for 36 months course. And if you are a 11th grader, you can go for a course of 24 months. And if you are in 12th grade, then go for 12 months course. And if you just want to try, and if you're a new student at Unacademy and you're not quite sure which one to go with, and if you're just trying, then I would suggest go with 12 months course and not with 6 months. Let me tell you why. Well, if you were to buy this course, which is available for 6 months, and here they offer you 33% off discount, and with the code, you get 44% off discount, and for 6 months, you pay 9,000, right? And then after 6 months, you take another 6 months of the subscription, which means you pay another 9,000, which means in total, you will be paying 18,000 rupees, right? But supposing if you were to buy the course, which is already there for 12 months and 50 plus 10, you get 60% of discount. And after discount and everything, you will only have to pay 13,500 rupees for how much? 12 months. And here, for the same thing, for the same amount of duration, that is for 12 months, you will pay 18,000 rupees. And here, when you buy that in one shot, in one attempt, you will pay only 13,500 rupees. Therefore, make a wise decision because the investment in education is the best investment that anybody could do. Therefore, do not think twice when it comes about education. Go ahead, make sure you are buying the subscription for 12 months. And if you are a ninth grader, think about 48 months subscription. Do not forget to use the code TA01. After having discussed all about, excuse me, about the subscription, let us proceed towards the topic. And like I told you, today's topic is tenses. Well, tenses in one video. I'm going to be discussing each and every particular tense that we have learned in past 2 weeks. I took you through individually through all the tenses and I explained you in detail the structure of each and every format, the structure of each and every type of statement, and also discussed the usages of each and every tense. And today I have put together all of those sentence structures. Well, not the usages. If you really want to learn the usages, I would suggest go back and watch those individual videos based on each and every tense. But this video is focused mainly on the structure of the statement where you will identify the tense in seconds. Now let us proceed towards learning what is tense. Let us begin the process. Let us begin the understanding of tense. Well, for starters, what is tense? Well, in simple words, what would you say a tense is? Well, I would just say tense is nothing but the time that we are referring to. And the question is time of what? Well, time of the action. Time of the action. We say when actually the action is happening. We talk about when we say tense, we tell when actually the tense has happened, that the action has happened, whether the action is going on, whether the action is completed, or whether the action will happen is yet to happen. When we discuss about all this, we when we refer to actions in these timelines, we refer to them as tenses, which is nothing but time. Well, how many timelines do we have? Well, we have three timelines. Number one, we have present, which speaks about the present events or present actions, things which are going on at the moment. Number two, we have past, where we are talking about all the actions that are completed. We are talking about completed actions. Number three, we have future, where we are or we will be talking about the actions which will happen in future, which will happen in future. So we have in total three timelines. But that's not all. These three timelines are further divided into four more, where we get in total 12 tenses like this. Now, this represents present, as in present tense or in present timeline, we have simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous. And in past, we have simple past, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. And in future, we have simple future, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous. So, which means in total, we have 12 different types of timelines or 12 different types of tenses. And it is important for you to understand these tenses. It is important for you to understand, identify these tenses if you take a look at them. Because if you want to learn your direct and indirect speech, or be it your active voice or a passive voice, unless you are able to identify these tenses, let me tell you, you will not be able to understand direct or indirect and also the voice. Therefore, you should be able to, being a student, you should be able to understand, identify the tenses in seconds, is what I'm going to say. Now, let us proceed towards the formulas, knowing the formulas and understanding the sentence structure to conjugate these tenses. I told you there are 12 tenses, and I'm going to take you through all these sentence structures. Let me quickly tell you the subjects. We've already discussed all these subjects and also the verb forms and the 5 forms of verbs that we have, but still, I would like to give you a little insight about these subject types. Well, we have two subject types. Number one being pronoun, and number two, we have nouns. Pronouns and nouns. We, in fact, use these pronouns and nouns in subject places. Under the category of pronouns, we have first person, second person, and third person. First person pronouns are like I and we. Second person pronouns are you. Third person pronouns are he, she, and it, and plural. Well, we, you, and they are plural subjects. I, you, and he, she, it are singular subjects. It is important that you understand the singular subjects over here. I and you might not create any confusion, but when it comes to he, she, and it is important that you understand that these third person, he, she, it are singular subjects and they use the plus S verb. I'm going to tell you about that in a while, but let us talk about nouns and then proceed towards the verbs. Nouns are nothing but all the names of people, places, things, or ideas. The names, all the names that we refer to are used as our nouns when they are used in subjects place. Verb types. Well, verb is an action word in a statement. Verb is a word that denotes the action, and we have two types of verbs. Number one, we have main verbs, and number two, we have helping verbs, which are also called as auxiliaries, which of course I have discussed it already with you, but then let me take you through again. Main verbs are like run, walk, smile, cry, laugh, laugh, walk. Okay, walk is done. So talk, speak, tell, hear. All these are called as our main verbs. So what are helping verbs then? Well, helping verbs are verbs like be verbs, have verbs, and do verbs. What are be verbs? Well, verbs like is, are, am, was, were, and will be. Now let us try and understand these tenses over here. Is, are, am is used in present tense. Was and were are the past tense of is, are, and am. We use it in past tense. Will be is used in future tense. Same when we talk about have verbs, we have and has, which we use in perfect tenses, in fact, and the past tense of have and has is had. And when it comes to do verbs, we have do and does in present tense, and the past tense of do and does is did. Then we also have models, and models are words like can, could, shall, should, may, might, etc. There are many number of models out there. So these verbs, when I say helping verbs, these helping verbs in fact connect the main verbs with the subjects, thereby giving us a complete, meaningful statement. Next, we have the verb forms. There are 5 verb forms where number 1 is referred to as root, or we also refer to that as base form, which are, supposing if I take the verb walk, or let us say run. Now, we have when we add the plus s to this base form, the word converts itself into walks or runs. Then, in case if you add the ing to the base form, we get an ing verb like this. And next, we have the past tense of this verb. We have the past tense. And the past tense of walk is walked. And the past tense of run is ran. And then we also have something called as past participle. Past participle. And the past participle of walk is in fact walked. And the past participle of run is in fact run. Now here, the thing that you have to take into consideration is walk. The past tense of walk is walked, and the past participle of walk is also walked. There is no change in these two verbs, past tense and past participle. There is actually no change. But when you take the verb run, the past tense is ran, and the past participle is run. Let me give you another example here, like eat, eats, eating, ate, and eaten. Here, ate is the past tense and eaten is your past participle. Now, this gives us the understanding that there are a bunch of verbs which do not change their form, or they have similar past tense and similar past participle. And there are a bunch of verbs which have different past tense and different past participle like these. Well, these type of verbs which actually do not change their form, which have same past tense and past participle are called as regular verbs, and the ones which have different past tense and different past participles are called as irregular verb forms. Now, it is again important for you to understand these 5 different forms because we are going to utilize each and every form over here in conjugating the tenses, which is important for you to understand. Remember, root or base is verb like walk, run, and eat, and then plus s is when you add plus s to it. Ing form is when you add ing to it, and then past tense is walked when you add ed or n or en sometime like this, ran and ate. Past participle is again there is sometimes it is similar when you have regular verbs, and when you have irregular verbs you have words like read and spoken, taken. All those are your irregular verbs. Now let us proceed towards understanding these present tense or tenses. Let us move on towards conjugating these tenses. Well, earlier I told you there are 4 types of tenses, right? What did I tell you? We have simple, continuous, perfect, and we have perfect continuous, right? We have perfect continuous. Well, these four types, we are going to discuss these four types, but we are going to discuss all of these separately. First, let us talk about the simple tenses. And when I say simple tenses, the word is pretty much self-explanatory. When I say simple, the action that we are referring to in simple tenses, we have three tenses. Let me erase all of this and okay. We have when it comes to simple tenses, we have three simple tenses. Number one, we have simple present, and number two, we have simple past, and number three, we have simple future. We have simple future. Well, these verbs, when we are talking about simple present or simple past, or be it simple future, when we refer to the action that is happening in this particular timeline, we in fact are referring, or we mostly describe the action without specifically stating whether the actions are completed or ongoing. We do not actually refer, we do not actually say the action is completed, or we are not actually saying the action is going on, but instead we are saying, we are simply mentioning the action in their respective timelines. In present, we just simply mention it in present, and in past, we simply mention it in past, and the same thing we are going to do in future as well. Let me take you through these statements one by one in positive. How do you conjugate, or what is the sentence structure of simple tenses when they are in their positive state? Well, let us talk about simple present. Well, simple present, let us talk about the sentence structure over here. Well, the sentence structure in simple present begins with the subject. Soon after the subject, we are either going to use the root verb or the plus S verb. Remember the five types of verbs that we discussed? Root, plus S, ing, past, and past participle. Well, out of these, when it comes to simple present, we are going to use the root verb and the plus S verb. Now, this is the sentence structure that we are going to use. That is subject and then root verb. For example, if I have to give you an example, the subject here could be I, or you can also use you, or you can also use we. Well, soon after the subject, what do we use? We are going to use the root verb. So if I take the verb eat, I eat, or you eat, or we eat. So that's your, let me put it like this. I, you, we, and also they. So when you have this, you use the root verb. The question is, when do you actually use the plus S verb? Well, plus S verb is used only in present tense. I want you to make a note of this point. Only in present tense. We do not use that in past tense at all. We use it only in past tense or in future either. It is only used in present tense alone, the plus S form. And here the plus S form is used with the subjects like he, she, or it. And what do we use here? When we have the subject he, she, and it, we use the plus S form, which is eats. What the plus S form of eat is eats. So he eats, or she eats, or it eats. This is our simple present. Let me give that as one example rather than making it as all clumsy. So subject with I eat. You either say I eat or you say she eats. That is our simple present. Let us now talk about simple past. And in simple past, we use the sentence structure as subject, and soon after the subject, we in fact use the fourth form, no, the V2 form, that is the past tense. We use the past tense over here. So if supposing we are going to use the subjects I, here we do not have the rule of plus S form here, because I told you that plus is used only in present tense alone and not in any other tense. Therefore, past tense doesn't use the plus s form. So it doesn't matter which subject you are using, be it I, you, we, they, or he, she, or it. The verb that we are going to use after the subject, soon after the subject, there is no be verb in between. There is no be verb in between. After the subject, we are going to use the past tense, and the past tense here. What is the past tense of eat, by the way? Well, it is ate. So you are going to use the sentence structure like this. I ate, you ate, we ate, they ate, he ate, she ate, or it ate. So that is what is simple past. Let me give you that as one example. That is I ate. Now let us talk about future, sorry, simple future. Let us talk about simple future. And here we have the sentence structure as subject, and soon after the subject we are going to use an auxiliary over here, which is will. Subject and then will, and then we are going to use the root verb over here, that is the first form of the verb, that is root verb. So here again there is no such rule of pluses in future either. Like I told you, it is only applicable in present tense alone. So here doesn't matter what type of subject you are using, even if it is I, you, we, or they, or he, or she, or be it, we are going to use will, and then we are going to use the root verb. And what is the root verb of eat here? It is eat. So the sentence structure goes like this. Subject, depending upon the type of subject that you use, I will eat, or you will eat, or she will eat, or he will eat, it will eat. So that's the kind of sentence structure that we follow when it comes to the positive sentences in simple tenses. Let us talk about the negative. What about the negative sentence in simple present? Well, in simple present, or in past, or in future, to convert them into negative, we are going to bring in the negative word in the statements. But there are a few things that you have to keep in your mind. Let me tell you what they are. In simple present, we are going to begin with subject. Obviously, all the statements begin with the subject. There's no doubt over there. We are going to use in simple present. Keep this in your mind. To make the statement negative, to make the statement negative, we will have to bring in the auxiliary over here. And the auxiliary that we are going to use over here is either do or does in simple present. Therefore, we are going to use do or does. Soon after this, we are going to introduce the negative word, which is not, and then we are going to use the root verb or the plus s verb according to the type of verb that we are going to use, subject that we are going to use. Let me give you the example over here. Supposing if I take this. Now, subject, remember when it comes to present tense, you will have to be very careful about the type of subjects that you use. We have I, we, you, they, and then we have singular subjects, third person singular subjects like he, she, and it. So if we are going to give you, write the example over here in negative, let us take the example I over here. And if you are using I, or be it we, you, or they, we use the auxiliary I do. And to make it negative, we are going to use I do not, and then the root verb over here. I do not, let us say, walk. I do not walk. And supposing if the subject is he or she or it, in that particular case, what did I say? Present tense. In present tense, we use plus s. Didn't I say that already? Therefore, keeping that in mind, he or be it she or it, we use third person singular subject over here. And to represent the third person singular subject, instead of using do, we are going to use does over here, and we are going to bring in the word not, not, and we are not going to use the plus s verb over here, but then we are going to use the root verb over here. Ask me why? Because we have already used the plus s format over here. Yes, of course, he, she, and it does use the plus s form, but when you have already used one verb in plus s, you do not actually have to use the other one in plus s, because this becomes your infinitive over here, and this becomes your, sorry, this becomes your finite, non-finite verb, and this becomes your finite verb. Therefore, you do not use two different verbs and you do not apply the formula of plus s in all the verbs that follow in the same statement. One finite verb will suffice. He does not walk, or I do not walk. That's the formula, or that's the sentence structure that we follow when it comes to simple present. So the sentence structure for simple present is subject, do or does not, and then you use the root verb. Now let us talk about simple past. In simple past, again, it is very interesting concept over here about simple past. Pay attention. The past tense of do or does is did. Remember we discussed it earlier? It is did. So what is the sentence structure of past tense over here in negative? Well, we are going to bring in the subject. Obviously, like I told you, every statement in English begins with a subject. So after subject, we are going to bring the negative word, which is did, and then we are going to bring in the word not, and after not, we are going to bring in the main verb. Now, the question over here is, are you going to bring in the past tense like I told you? What was the sentence structure over here that we discussed? For simple past, the sentence structure is subject and past tense, right? The example is I ate. Now, supposing if we take the same example, let us say I ate, which is the main verb. But I told you that to make it negative, you are going to introduce did not, right? So would you still say I did not ate? Well, the answer is no, you wouldn't say that, but instead here, the past tense is converted back into root verb over here. And that is how you are supposed to use your past negative in simple past. Remember this, when you use did in a statement, the main verb that you use in your particular statement is supposed to be root verb. This is supposed to be noted. This is supposed to be noted as well, even when you are using the verb does. So which means depending upon the type of subjects, well, I told you that we have I, we, you, they, and in third person we have he, she, and it, right? These are our third person singular, and the plus s formula doesn't apply for past or future. It only applies for present alone. So if we take the subject, be it I, we, you, or they, or he, she, it, or any other name, noun if you're planning to take, we are going to bring in did not. I did not, and here the root verb. Even though it is past tense, we are not going to bring in the past form because we have used did. And when we use did in a statement, it is supposed to be your root verb. And the root verb is walk, or if you're planning to use the verb ate, it's not ate. The present tense of ate is eat. So it becomes I did not eat, she did not eat, they did not eat, we did not eat. Let us move on to simple future here now. The negative of simple future is pretty simple because if you have noticed the sentence structure of present and past, we did not have it. Let us go back to the previous one over here. Take a look at the sentence structure over here. We have subject and then we have the root verb, the main verb. In fact, this is our main verb. Even here, we have the main verb. But when you take a look at your future tense, we do not just have main verb, but we also have an auxiliary here. That is our helping verb here. So because we have this helping verb over here, we do not in fact have to introduce another helping verb. Here, as we do not have a helping verb, we are going to introduce did, and here we are going to introduce do and does to make it as to utilize or to formulate or to conjugate other types of sentence structures. But in future, that's not necessary because you already have the be verb over there, which means the sentence structure is subject. Soon after the subject, you already have will over there. So all you do is introduce the word will not, and obviously it takes root verb, right? So the example goes like this. I. Again, there is no change in subject. Even if it is I, we, you, they, he, she, it's the same formula. I, and you bring in will not. I will not walk or eat for that matter. I will not walk. I will not eat. She will not eat. She will not walk. He will not walk. So that is for the negative sentences. Now let us talk about yes or no questions. Well, what are yes or no questions? Yes or no questions are those type of questions which actually in response they take the answer as either yes or no. Now let us talk about the different tenses and the sentence structure for simple tenses. First, we have simple present. And in simple present, what is the sentence structure that we are going to use? Well, we are going to obviously here not going to begin with a subject because we are talking about a question, and because we are talking about a question, yes or no question, most importantly, we begin it with the auxiliary. And what auxiliary are we going to use in simple present? We are going to use do or does, right? Therefore we are going to begin the question with do or does, and after that, we are going to bring in our subject. Subject, and after the subject comes our root verb. And then it ends with a question mark. Well, the formula, the rule of pluses is applied over here because does is our plus s verb. Now, how do you formulate the question? Subjects being I, we, you, they. These are our plural subjects, and these are our he, she, it are our singular subjects. So singular subjects in present tense take plus s verb. So how are we going to formulate the question? We are going to, if we take the subject as I, we take it as do I, or it could be do we, or do you, or do they. Do I, let us say eat. Do I eat, or do I walk? You can also put it here as walk, or any other for that matter that you are planning to use or deciding to use. Do I eat or do I walk? Now at the same time, supposing if you use plus s verb over here, we are going to use does. Does she eat or walk? Remember to put the question mark. How do you make a negative of this thing? All you do is do I not. You are going to put a negative word over here like this. Do I not eat, or does she not eat? And it becomes your negative. Let us now move on to your simple past. Well, remember, simple past is pretty simple. All you have to remember is you are going to use did when it comes to simple past. And when you use did in a statement, the main verb which you are going to use is supposed to be in root verb. So the sentence structure is pretty much simple, pretty much same. The only change that you do over here is convert the do into did. That's it. Did, and then subject, and then your root verb, and end it with a question mark. And let us take the example. Well, did and subject be I, any subject for that matter. There is no plus s rule over here. Therefore, I, we, you, they, he, she, it doesn't matter. It's the same verb that we follow, except for present tense. So, did I eat? And we end it with a question mark. To make it as a negative, we only add the word negative word, that is, did I not eat. One important factor that you have to remember when it comes to simple past is when you use the word did in a statement, the verb is not in past tense, but it is in your root form. Remember that. Now let us move on to simple future. And simple future, the sentence structure is also pretty simple. The auxiliary is already there. All you have to do is bring in to the front like this, will, and then subject, and you have the root verb and end it with a question mark. And how are you going to formulate the examples? Well, you will say like this. Again, subject doesn't matter. Any subject for that matter will take the same type of verb. So will I eat? Or for negative, will I not eat? That's it. That's all is your yes or no questions. All you have to focus on is the kind of be verb that you use, and yes or no questions begin with yes, the auxiliary first and not with the subject. Talking about the WH word questions. What are WH words, by the way? What WH words are words like what, why, where, who, how, whom, which. All these are referred to as our WH questions. Now, how do you formulate these types of WH questions when it comes to simple tenses is the question? Well, we begin with simple present. Simple present. Let us make a note of simple past as well here. Simple past, and we have simple future here. So we are talking about simple. Let us first talk about simple present. All right, let me change the color of the pen here to make it, all right. So simple present, what type of sentence structure are we going to use? Well, we are going to begin with a WH word, and soon after the WH word, we are going to bring in the auxiliary over here. And what are the auxiliaries that we are going to use in simple present? Well, I told you that we use do or does based on the type of subject. Either we use do or does. And after do or does, we are going to use our subject, and then comes our root verb. We are going to use our root verb. So let us take the example. And the example goes like this. Supposing if we take the word as Y in place of WH word, we have Y. And if we take the subject, yeah, we have different types of subjects like I, we, you, they, and he, she, or it, which is considered as a third person singular subject, which uses the plus S verb, right? Only in present tense, remember that. So why do you eat or walk, question mark, with plus S verb, let us say, that is with the subjects he, she, and it. Why does she or he or it eat, question mark, not plus S, not eats. In fact, you're going to use does over here. And how do you formulate the negative? All you do is why do you not eat, or why does she not eat? That's it. Pretty simple. How about simple past? What is the formula for simple past? Well, the formula for simple past is again pretty much the same. The only change that we are going to bring in over here is do, and does becomes did. That's it. Did, and you have the subject, and soon after the subject you have the root verb. That's it. And you ended with a question mark. Let me give you the examples. Well, why did you eat? Or to make it as a negative statement, we just say, why did you not eat? That's it, question mark. And then we have simple future. And in simple future, well, I forgot to tell you, in simple past, even in he, she, and it, we take the same type of verb, that is did. And for simple future, we already have the auxiliary here. Therefore, with the WH word, the auxiliary that we are going to use is will, and then of course the subject, and then of course the root verb. And there you have the question mark. And the example will be like this. Why will you eat? Or to make it as a negative statement, why will you not eat? Ended with a question mark. So that's all about simple tenses: simple present, simple past, and simple future. We've discussed each and every structure that I could possibly use in these simple tenses. Now let us move on to continuous tenses. Before I continue with continuous tenses, what is the meaning of the continuous tenses? Let us focus on that. Well, when we say the word continuous, we are in fact referring to an action that is going on. The word is self-explanatory. Continuous, meaning going on, not completed, in progress. So when we say, either if we say present continuous, we are talking about the action that is going on in present. And if we say past continuous, we are talking about the action that is going on in past. And if we say future continuous, we are talking about the action which is going on in future. But we are referring to the action that is going on and has not finished, has not completed or finished at the time of the talking. The particular timeline that we are discussing, at that particular moment, the action that we are referring to was going on, will be going on, or is going on. Now let us talk about the sentence structures of positive sentences. Present continuous. Let us talk about present continuous first. And what is the second one that we have? Well, we have past continuous. We have past continuous, and the third one that we have is future continuous. These are our three timelines that we have when it comes to continuous tenses. And the sentence structure that we are going to use with these tenses are, well, obviously we are going to begin it with subject. And here, subject, soon after the subject, we are going to use the auxiliary, that is, are, and am. And soon after these auxiliaries, we are going to use the ing verbs, that is the main verb. And for past continuous, we are going to use obviously subject, and is, are, am will be converted into its past form, that is as, was, and were, and of course the ing verb. And for future continuous, we are obviously going to begin it with subject, and the future be verb of was, were, is, will, be. And of course, we have the ing verb there. Now let us take the examples for each of these structures that we have discussed. Okay, that's too dark. Let me take another color. How about this one? All right, let us take the subject first. Supposing if we take the subject as I over here. Now, earlier I told you that when you have the subjects like I, you, we, and they, we use the root form or the base form. And in, for subjects like he, she, and it, we use plus s form. Only in present tense. This is important for you to understand, only in present tense. So when we take the subject I, or be it you, or we, or they, we are going to use no. There is a little deviation over here. When we use I, we are going to use I am. And when we are going to use you, or they, or even we. We, they, you, we are going to use the verb that we are going to use is are. So I am, and then we are going to bring in the ing form. That is, I am going or I am walking. Same goes to they are walking or going. Let us take walking. I am going, they are going, and with the subjects he, she, and it, we use is, that is the plus S verb. And we say he is walking, she is walking, or it is walking. That is our sentence structure for positive. Those are the positive sentences in present continuous tenses. Moving on to past continuous tenses, we have obviously subject, and here there is, like I told you earlier, plus is not applied in past tense or in future tense. Yes, of course, but except for past continuous. This rule of plus s applies on third person singular over here, is applied in past continuous. That is, supposing if you use I, the past tense of am is was. So you are going to write the statement as I am walking. And supposing if you are going to use you or we or they, the verb that you are going to use is were. You were walking. At the same time, if supposing you use he, she, or it, then the verb that you use is was. That is, he was walking, she was walking, it was walking. Moving on to future continuous tense, well, there is no differentiation or distinction between the type of verbs, subjects that we use. This doesn't take the plus S verb, so there is no confusion whatsoever. So doesn't matter what type of subject you use, the structure still remains the same. But we use I will be walking. So if you take a look at all the three tenses over here, I am walking, I was walking, I will be walking. The only change that has happened over here is am has converted itself into was and then into will be based upon the type of tense. Let's quickly take a look at the past tense, the negative forms of these verbs. And the negative forms are, okay, first let me mention the type of verbs. Present continuous, present continuous. And what else do we have? We have past continuous and we have future continuous. And how do we formulate the negatives? Well, all we do over here is introduce the negative word, which is not, not. The sentence structure that we followed in positive sentences is the same thing that we use here as well, except for the negative word. That is, we bring in the subject, and then soon after the subject obviously is, are, and am. But along with that, we have not. We either use is not, are not, or am not, and the ing form. Same is the case with with past continuous, but then we are going to convert the verbs, the be verbs, into past verbs and the negative word and then the ing form. Future tense uses will be. So we have will not be. She will not. We will introduce the auxiliary in between. We will introduce the negative word in between the words over here. That is auxiliary. Will be becomes will not be, and then the ing form. Let us take the examples. And all right, subject, of course, I. If we are going to use I, we are going to use am. I am, and not. I am not walking. Similarly, you, if you use you, we, or they, you are going to use the auxiliary as are not. You are not walking. And he, she, it uses is, the plus S verb. She is not walking. He is not walking. Now let us talk about the past continuous over here. we are going to use pluses, that is was, in, he, with, he, she, it, and also with I. So I was not walking, or she was not walking. You can also say he was not walking or it was not walking. But with the subjects you, they, and we, the verb is were not walking. The next one is the future tense, and here there is no segregation of the subject, so it doesn't matter which subject we use, the sentence structure still remains the same. I will not be walking, or she will not be walking, or he will not be walking, or they will not be walking. Let us quickly take the yes or no questions, and I told you yes or no questions begin with the auxiliary, and because we are talking about different tenses over here, it differs, auxiliary differ in each and every tense. So for present continuous, and then we have the past continuous, and then we have the future continuous. So let us begin with the sentence structure that we are going to use in yes or no questions. Like I told you, we begin with the auxiliary when it comes to yes or no questions. And what auxiliaries do we use in present continuous, by the way? Well, we use is, or are, or am, right? So after this, we are going to introduce the subject, and then comes the ing verb, and of course the question mark. For past continuous, we are going to use the past B verbs, which are was and were, and of course the subject, and of course we use the ing verb in continuous tenses, hence ing verb. For future, we are going to use the future auxiliary, and of course the subject, and of course the ing verb. There you go. Now let us move to examples. Let us take the examples over here. So if I take the subjects, I here the pluses formula applies in present and past continuous. All right. I, you, we, and they, and he, she, and it. So when we use I, the verb is am. So sorry, we begin with the auxiliary. So if we are going to use the subject as I, the auxiliary is am. So am I walking? Am I walking? Or if you take the subjects as you, or we, or they, you begin with, this is supposed to come in the middle, right? We begin the auxiliary, and the auxiliary that we are going to use is are. Are you, or we, or they walking? Ing verb. And with he, she, and it, we are going to take the verb is, that is plus s verb, and you are going to bring in the subjects like is she, or is he, or is it walking? And there you go, question mark. With the auxiliary, with past continuous, we are going to begin with was, or were. Was I, or was she, or was he, or was it walking? We do take the pluses in past continuous. And with were, we use were you, or were we, or were they walking? To make it negative, am I not walking? Are you, or are we, or are they not walking? Is she not walking? Similarly, was I not, or were they not? To talk about future continuous, we only have will be, and we do not have other verbs. Therefore, will I not, no, will I be? Will, here we got to make a little change. with yes or no questions. Here we are not going to bring in be, but we are going to bring in the subject first. That is will and subject. 1 second, let me change. Okay. Will, and then comes the subject, and then comes be, and then the ing verb. And the sentence goes like this. Will I, one moment. Yeah. Will I be walking? Will I be walking, or will she be walking? Will he be walking? Will they be walking? Now we got to move on to WH questions, and obviously we discuss about the WH questions. The WH questions that we have, words are why, what, when, who, where, and which. And present continuous, we have present continuous, and then we have the past continuous. And then we have the future continuous. Then we have the future continuous. And what what sentence structure are we going to use with these tenses? Well, we are going to begin with the WH word and then the auxiliary. And the present auxiliaries are is, are, and am. And then you have the subject, and then the ing verb and question mark. Similarly, even in past tense, we begin the question with WH word, then the auxiliary was and were, then subject, and the ing verb. The same goes even with future as well. WH word, but, will, and subject, and then be, and then the ing verb. There goes your question mark. Let us take the examples for these now. And let us say, supposing if I take the word where, and if I am taking the subject I. Remember, plus S is for he, she, and it. So if I say where, if I take I, obviously the verb is am. Where am, subject is I, going. Where am I going? Or if you take you, then the verb is are. Where are you going? Or if you take the subject as a she or he, then the verb is where is she going? Full stop. To make it as negative, where am I not going? Where is she not going? Where are you not going? Or where is she not going? That's all. The examples for past continuous would be, where was I going? Or the same with the subject she or he. Where was she or he going? With the other subjects like were, you, they, we use were, and where were you going? Question mark. Well, all right. Talking about the future tense, where will I be going? Or where will I not be going? If you want to make it as negative, doesn't matter which type of subject, the sentence structure remains the same. Talking about perfect tenses. Perfect tenses, the word again is self-explanatory. When we say perfect, we are discussing about the action which is perfectly completed in the 3 timelines that we are discussing. If we are talking about present, then we are talking about the action that has been completed perfectly in present perfect. In present perfect. And same is the case with past perfect. And same is the case with future perfect. When we say perfect tenses, we are discussing about the action that has been perfectly completed in present, past, and future. Let us quickly take the sentence structures that we have to discuss over here, or that we take with perfect tenses. We have present perfect. Number 2, we have past perfect. And number 3, we have future perfect. All right. Now the sentence structure that we are going to use is we are going to begin with the subject over here. Obviously subject, and after the subject we are going to use the have verbs over here, because to represent a completed action or a perfect action we need have or has. And in present tense we either use have with subjects I, you, we, and they, and has in subjects like he, she, and it. Remember the plus s verb. And then we are going to use the past participle over here. What are we going to use? The past participle, or the V3 form. Now for the past perfect also we are going to follow the same sentence structure, but what is the past tense of have and has? Well, it is had, and obviously we are going to use the past participle. We are going to use the past participle. And for future, well, we begin with the subject, of course, and then we will use will, and we use will have, and obviously past participle. If you have noticed the sentence structure over here, we are going to use the past participle over here in all the 3 tenses, and the only change that you see over here is have or has, or had or will have. Supposing if you take the example as I, if you take the subject as I. And what auxiliary are we going to use over here? Because the subject is I, we are going to use have. Supposing if the subject had been she, we would have used has. So she has. And we are going to use the past participle. So the past participle of eat is eaten. I have eaten, or she has eaten. And here, the past tense of have is had. Therefore, we are going to bring down the same past participle. I had eaten. Even though if it is she, we are going to use had. No change in plus s form over here. It is only in present tense alone. And the same is the case with the future as well. I will have eaten. And there you go. That's it. That's simple. How about the negative sentences? Well, for formulating the negative sentences, all we do is bring in the word not over here. And let me first mention the name of the tense. We have present perfect. We have past perfect. And we have future perfect. And the sentence structure that we are going to use over here is for negative. Well, we are going to begin with the subject, and we already have the auxiliaries, that is have and has, but we are going to introduce not, and we are going to use past participle. The only difference here is bringing in the negative word. The same is the case with past perfect as well, subject, but because it is past, we are talking about had and not have and has. And we have the past participle. Then we have the future perfect, where we introduce the subject, and we then have will, have, and then not. We have not. There's a little change, which is will not. will not have, when you have two auxiliaries, you bring the negative word in between. Will not have plus past participle. Let us quickly take the examples. Well, it shouldn't be very hard. Subject, supposing if it is I or she. I takes have and she takes has. Therefore, I have not or she has not. And then the past participle is eaten. I have not eaten, she hasn't eaten. She has not eaten. Contracted forms, hasn't. In past perfect, we have the subject doesn't matter. I, she, he, they, whatever the subject you use, the verb remains the same. Had not eaten. The same is the case in future as well. The subject doesn't matter. Any subject that you use, you are going to use the same auxiliary. Therefore, I will not have eaten. I will not have eaten. There you go. Now let us talk about the yes or no questions. And the yes or no questions begin with auxiliary. Present perfect, past perfect, and then you have future perfect. And the sentence structure that we are going to use over here is, obviously, we are going to begin with the auxiliary, and the auxiliary in perfect tenses we use is have or has, and then comes the subject, and then comes the past participle. Past participle, and you end it with a question mark. Well, the auxiliary that we use in past perfect is had and subject, and of course past participle. And with the future, we are going to use will, subject, have, and past participle. Let us take the examples of these and understand them. Better. Okay. All right. So if you take have, and let us also take has. Have I eaten? Or have I not eaten? In case if you're making it negative. Has she eaten? In case you're making it negative, not. Has she not eaten? Similarly, had I eaten? Or had I not eaten? Will I have eaten? For negative, okay, for negative we use will I have not eaten. So these are yes or no questions. Let us now move on to WH questions and the structure that we are going to use over here. Well, let me write the names first. Present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. For WH questions, we use the auxiliary as, well, we begin with the WH word, of course, and the auxiliary is what we introduce. And what is the auxiliary that we are going to use in present perfect over here? Well, we are going to use have or has, and then we are going to use subject, and then obviously past participle. Perfect tenses use only have and has. One thing that you have to keep in your mind is if you were supposed to use two different verbs in a statement, and if you have or has or had, then without doubt use the past participle after that. That's one of the easiest trick that you have to understand. Past participle, and do not forget your question mark. The same goes with past perfect as well. All you do is bring in the negative word and your subject and past participle. with future as well, we have WH word, and then after WH word will, and then bring the subject. Soon after the subject, bring the word have, and then the past participle. Question mark. All right, now let us take a different color here. Let us take the examples. Now, if you take the example over here in the word where, if you are taking the subject I, you, we, or they, then you are going to use have. And supposing if you are going to use the subject as she or he, then obviously has where have I, or where has she eaten or gone. I have noticed many of many of the students using, many people using it as went in place of gone. This is incorrect usage. When you use went, you are in fact using past tense and not past participle. The past participle of go is gone. The past tense is went. Therefore, you need to be careful when you are conjugating the verb go in perfect tenses. In perfect tenses, you only use gone and not went. Be careful about this. Where has she eaten, or where has she gone? Well, with perfect past, where had she or I or you, any subject for that matter, where had she gone? For making it as negative, where have I not? Where has she not, or where had she not? For future, where will I have gone, or where will I have not gone? We have come, or we have reached to the last one, which is perfect continuous tenses. And here, when we say perfect continuous tenses, we are talking about two tenses over here. That is one where the action is perfectly completed, but after that completion, it hasn't ended there, but then it is still going on. Perfect continuous say that the action started way back or way before and haven't ended yet, but still going on. Well, we are obviously referring to those actions. We are in fact bringing all the three timelines over here. Or for example, we are talking about an action that started way back in the past. In the present, it has come to present tense and it hasn't ended at the moment, but it is still going on. So we are talking about the past here, present here, and also future as well. So all the three timelines are connected when we speak about perfect continuous tenses. Obviously, we have three tenses. We have present perfect, continuous, we have past perfect continuous, and of course we have future perfect continuous. And present speaks about present, past about past, future about future. Let us take the sentence structure that we are going to use over here. Well, obviously, let us refer to these as, with acronyms. Let us take this as present PC and past PC and future PC, in case, to save a little time. So let us take the sentence structure. The first one being present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. Now we need to discuss about the sentence structure with different types of subjects that we have. Well, we begin with subject, of course, and here in place of auxiliary we are going to use have or has, depending upon the type of subject. If it is I, you, we, or they, we use have. If it is he, she, and it, we are going to use plus s verb, which is has. Therefore, subject have or has been, and because we are talking about the continuous tenses over here, we are going to bring in the ing main verb. The same is the case with past perfect as well, but has or have becomes had been, and of course the ing main verb. And for future, we have will, have, and been, and the ing main verb. Let us take the examples. I have or she has been walking. Walking. I have been walking, she has been walking, he has been walking. With past perfect, we say I had been walking. Has or have or has becomes had over here. Now let us move on to future, and in future, if we take I as our subject, well, let me tell you, the plus s form is only applicable in present alone. Keep that in your mind. It is not applicable in past. In past tense, doesn't matter what type of subject you use, past or future, doesn't matter what type of subject you use, the sentence structure still remains the same. I will have been walking. There you go. Now let us talk about the negative sentences for these particular tenses. Present perfect, continuous, or past perfect continuous, and then we have future perfect continuous. Let us take the sentence structure for these negative tenses. Well, all you have to do for the negative is to bring in the negative word. That's it. Subject, have or has been. But when you are making it negative, you are going to bring in the negative word first and then been, then the ing verb. The same is the case with past tense as well. Subject had not been, and the ing main verb. Future has will not have been, and then ing form. All right, let us take the examples for these. I or she. I have not been walking. I have not been walking, or she has not been walking. For past perfect, I had not been walking, or for future, we are going to use I will not have been walking. There you go. Now the next one is yes or no questions, and like I told you, they begin with the auxiliary. And if we, let us take present past and future continuous tenses. Do not forget, these are continuous tenses. Do not get confused. We begin with the sentence structure, and we have auxiliary first. And what auxiliary are we going to use in present perfect continuous? Well, we are going to use has or have or has, right? So have or has then comes subject. Before the word been comes the subject, and then the word been, and then the ing main verb and the question mark. Same is the case with past perfect continuous as well. There you go, ing form. For future, we have will, will, subject, and have been, and the ing verb. Let us take the examples for these tenses. All right. Have, if the subject is I, you, we, or they. Has, if the subject is she. Have I been walking? Negative, not. Have I not been walking? Have I not been walking? Has she been walking? Or has she not been walking? Similarly, had I or she been walking? Or had I not been walking? For future, will I have been walking? Or will I not have been walking? Will she not have been walking? WH question words. Words that we have in WH are why, what, where, when, who, which. All those are our WH questions. So how are we going to formulate WH questions in present perfect continuous and past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous? Well, we are going to begin with WH words over here. Let's take the examples here. We are going to begin with the WH words over here. Soon after, what are the auxiliaries that we are going to use in present tense? Well, of course, have and has, and soon after that we have subject, and after subject we have been, question mark. The same is the case with past perfect continuous as well, but instead of have and has, we are going to use had and been and the ing verb. The same is the case with future as well, but instead of had, we are going to use will and subject and have been and the ing form that ends in question mark. So the examples are, let us take a different color right here. Where, let us take the word where. If supposing the subject is I, then we take have. Where have I been walking? And question mark. Supposing if the sentence structure is the subject is has, subject is she. Excuse me for that. Subject is she, then you take the verb as has, and there you have your sentence. With past perfect, where had I been walking. The same is the case with other subjects as well. She, he, or any other subject or matter. The same is the case with future as well. The subject doesn't really matter. The structure remains the same. Been walking. To make it as negative, sorry about that. Yeah, to make it as negative, where have I not been? Where has she not been? Where had I not been? Or where will I have not been walking? That's all. Now let us take all these tenses that we have learned. We have discussed the sentence structure of all these tenses one by one. I showed you the sentence structure. Now let us put together all of them together. We have, like I told you, simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous, right? We have present, simple past, and simple future. What sentence structure are we going to use over here? Well, we are going to begin with subject. Soon after the subject, what did I tell you in present simple we use? We use either root or we use the plus s depending upon the type of subject. Similarly, in past tense, we obviously begin with subject, and soon after the subject, we are going to use the past form. The past form or tense. In future, we are going to obviously begin with the subject. Soon after the subject, we have will, and then we have the root verb. These are our simple tenses. What about the continuous tenses? Continuous tenses are those which actually have ing forms, right? Therefore, begin with the subject. And the be verbs that we are going to use in present tense are, present continuous is, are, am, and then we are going to use the ing main verb. What about past continuous? Well, obviously we are going to begin with subject, and the past tense of is, are, and am is was, were, and then of course we are going to use the ing main verb. Next we have the subject, the future continuous tense, which takes will, be, and the ing main verb. Let us now move on to the perfect tenses. So present perfect takes obviously the subject, and the be verbs or the auxiliaries that we use here are have or has, and then we use the past participle. In past perfect, the only change that we have is had and past participle. And for future, we have will, have, and past participle. In perfect continuous, present perfect continuous, we have obviously the subject, and obviously we are going to use have or has been and the ing forms. In past perfect continuous, subject had been and the ing verb. And for the last one, we will use will, have been, and then the ing main verb. So these are our 12 tenses. We have present, past, and future, simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. These are our 12 tenses. I have been telling you time and again that it is important for you to understand the structure of these tenses, because if you want to learn direct and indirect speech, or if you want to learn active or passive voice, trust me, unless you know the tenses, there is no one on the earth who can teach you those direct and indirect rules. Unless you know the sentence structures of tenses. Well, if you have mastered these tenses, then trust me, you have understood. The half the journey of grammar is done. Therefore, learn these, memorize these if you must, and then come prepared for the next class, which is going to be about direct and indirect speech. Well, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Do leave your comments below. I will be waiting for them, and do subscribe if you haven't already. Do hit the bell icon if you haven't already. And the most important thing of all, do not forget to type the code TA01 to avail that extra 10% off discount. And that's one way that you can show your support towards me as well. Let us crack CBSE 9th and 10th examinations with Unacademy. Join our Telegram group for latest updates on our upcoming videos as well. Well, let us meet again soon with another video on another day. Till then, have a good day.